From the Gulf States Newsroom, this is the Gulf States Gumbo, your weekly serving of stories from Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. I'm sports and culture reporter Joseph King, chopping it up this week. The Birmingham Squadron, the development league team of the NBA's New Orleans Pelicans, has been in the Magic City since 2021. But now, the team is relocating to Kenner, Louisiana. After speculation about the Squadron moving to Birmingham came out in February, the team officially confirmed the move in late March. I went down to Legacy Arena in Birmingham to see the Squadron play their last home game and see how fans and employees are taking the news. The Squadron played their last home game in Birmingham, Alabama against the Windy City Bulls, and it was a bit bittersweet for the Squadron and the fans. After the win, Squadron center Josh Aduro says he'll cherish his time in Birmingham.
Man, first of all, I'm real sad that we're leaving Birmingham. You know, I had my daughter here, so I really feel like a part of the Alabama and Birmingham community. I'm excited to go down to Louisiana, though. There's good food, so I'll be excited to see what's up with that.
Speculation about the Squadron moving to Louisiana has swirled since February when the Kenner City Council approved a proposal for the team to relocate there in the New Orleans metro area. The Squadron has called Birmingham home since 2021 and act as a development team for the New Orleans Pelicans in the NBA. Birmingham residents like Dean Tates are sad to see them leave.
I was really bummed, but being here for 5 years, the past year you could see that ticket sales were down. Love the team, love basketball, but unfortunate they're leaving, but I understand.
He's been a season ticket holder since the team has been in Birmingham, and you can often catch him courtside. He says he likes seeing the journey of players who played on the Squadron as they will get called up to the big leagues, like NBA center Trey Jemison, who is also from Birmingham.
I think Jemison's been my favorite Squadron player ever. I watched him at UAB, I watched him here, he's great.
Fans say over the past couple of years, attendance for games has been relatively low, and the team hasn't been able to fill Legacy Arena at the Birmingham Convention Complex. Tad Snyder is the executive director of the BJCC, and he says he knew the Squadron's time in Birmingham had run its course as their 5-year agreement had come to an end.
It wasn't performance, G League attendance or Birmingham attendance. This is really just a consolidating their basketball operations decision.
He says basketball fans in Alabama who will miss the Squadron can still get their fill with other events the BJCC hosts.
Even at the end of this year, we had Alabama and Auburn play in the building. So we know basketball does well in the community, and we'll continue to have basketball in the building. So I think we can make we can kind of fill their basketball appetite other ways.
Fans and Squadron employees who didn't want to comment on the record told me marketing was a big problem for the Squadron. Many people living in Birmingham and surrounding cities, like Lisa Woodall, often didn't know when the Squadron played.
I knew we had the Stallions, but I, didn't know much about the Squadron because I never heard a lot of publicity about it.
The Birmingham Stallions are the USFL semi-pro football team here. They've achieved a large amount of success since their founding in 2021, winning multiple championships and players going on to play in the NFL. They, like all the teams in the league, are also owned by actor and wrestler Dwayne Johnson, a.k.a. The Rock. So they've garnered a lot of attention within the state. Woodall says she has lived in Birmingham her whole life and hadn't discovered the Squadron until late last year.
And I want them to stay, but I think it's a little too late. But because I would buy a season ticket if they would stay.
When the agreement is finalized, the team will be renamed the Laketown Squadron and will play at the Pontchartrain Center less than 15 miles away from where the Pelicans play in Louisiana. They will play there as soon as next season. You're listening to the Gulf States Gumbo. I'm Joseph King. Jordan Crawford, an Auburn University football player, is using money earned from a collegiate name, image, and likeness deal to give back to his hometown of Birmingham, opening up a community hub called the Greedy House. The current NIL system, however, has been under scrutiny, including from President Donald Trump and other lawmakers in Washington. I went to the opening of the Greedy House last month and talked to Jordan and his mother about all of this. Jordan Crawford is a freshman defensive lineman at Auburn, and he loves his hometown of Birmingham, Alabama. So the 18-year-old opened the Greedy House, a nonprofit created to be used as a community hub to help those in need.
It's basically just like a community center, just open to everybody and open every day, just to chill.
The 700-square-foot house on 6th Avenue South used to be a coffee shop. Jordan's mother, Patsy Crawford, says he will eat breakfast there every day on his way to A.H. Parker High School, where he was a state champion and state lineman of the year.
They had a really good breakfast bowl, so he would come every morning before he went to Parker.
Patsy says Jordan pours back into the community whenever he has the chance, from donating 100 books to a local elementary school to assisting middle schoolers with food and clothing. But Jordan needed a central location to continue this work, and when his go-to breakfast spot became available, they secured the Greedy House.
House will have emergency meal kits, hygiene kits, will have access to resources within the community, whether it's shelter-related, food-related for the kids. We're starting a book club for the young kids, kindergarten through 5th grade. And then we'll also have other events and workshops like mental health workshops.
Jordan used roughly $30,000 from a name, image, and likeness deal at Auburn to create the Greedy House, a play on his personal slogan, Wake Up Greedy. For Jordan, greedy doesn't have anything to do with food, but a hunger for impact, change, and purpose.
That's where our meaning of greedy comes from. And the house, it kind of reminds you of that place that you have when you have an aunt's house or a grandma's house you can always go to and everybody's welcome.
While NIL helped Jordan create this, the system for which players can now get paid while in college is under scrutiny. The opening for the Greedy House was just a day after President Trump had a roundtable at the White House critiquing NIL. Trump says college sports are currently a pay-for-play system that has cost universities millions of dollars.
I thought the system of scholarships was great. What do I know? But I thought it was great. And just one of those things. I was with Nick Saban the other day, and, his timing is exquisite. And when he saw this thing, he said, I'm going to get out of it. I'm not doing this anymore. He's around here someplace.
Former University of Alabama football coach Nick Saban has been vocal about his disdain of the current state of NIL since his retirement in 2024. At the hearing, Saban said his goal as a coach, other than winning, was to prepare his players for success after athletics. He believes NIL is not doing that.
In this current system that we have, that became impossible to do because people, instead of making decisions about creating value for their future, they were making decisions about how much money could they make at whichever school they could go to or transfer to.
But Patsy Crawford says that's not the full story. She believes that with proper guidance, the current NIL system can set players up for their future after athletics.
It's not like a doomsday thing. Like, we just kind of see what's on the outside. Like, we don't get to see all the hard work that the kids go through, the stress that they put on their bodies, their mental. I mean, they deserve something, and a lot of them do give back with what they have.
After the Greedy House's grand opening, a video the Gulf States newsroom published about it on social media went viral. That day, Patsy said Jordan doesn't get much news coverage for his community service. Well, that's changed now.
We have a landline here that never gets used, and I got here this morning, had a bunch of missed calls. I had a ton of emails. I've been responding to emails since I woke up yesterday. A lot of donations, interview requests, a lot of positive feedback from the community.
Patsy says Jordan starts spring training within the next week, so his schedule will be full. But the Greedy House is open to anyone who wants to come volunteer and help out around the house. You're listening to the Gulf States Gumbo. I'm sports and culture reporter Joseph King. And joining me now to talk more about NIL and eligibility rules for college athletes is WBHM's All Things Considered host and reporter, Andrew Gelderman. Thanks for joining me, Andrew.
Thanks for having me, Joseph.
All right, so near the end of that last feature, we talked about the critiques of the current NIL system and college sports in general. Andrew, you've done some recent reporting regarding a proposed solution from an Alabama senator, right?
That's right. Here we've got Alabama Senator and former head Auburn football coach Tommy Tuberville. He's introduced some legislation that he's calling the Student Athletics Act of 2026. He says that it'll fix college sports. He says it'll do that in two main ways, one of which is establishing punishments for transfers when a student-athlete transfers more than once, and putting in place a 5-year eligibility cap, meaning once you start college, you can play for 5 years, but then that's it.
Yeah, this sounds similar to a recent report from Yahoo Sports that said the NCAA is proposing a new rule regarding eligibility rules, and it would include athletes having 5 years of eligibility that's centered around their age.
Yeah, and Tuberville is saying putting in place rules like that will put the student back in student-athlete. Tuberville was actually speaking about his bill during a Senate hearing on a different piece of legislation.
Athletes are bouncing from school to school, chasing the next deal. We all know that. We need to get away from that. The future is going to depend on the education part of going to school.
Yeah, Tuberville says he's spoken with President Trump about this. Earlier this month, Trump said he will sign an executive order limiting players transferring and regulating NIL. Have you heard from any other politicians in our region saying the same thing, or anybody else?
I haven't heard from any other politicians in our region, but I did speak to Nicholas Webster. He's a professor of sports marketing who got his PhD from FSU. He was telling me all about how he believes solutions like Tuberville's legislation and Trump's executive order wouldn't solve everything.
I think moving forward, trying to reimpose some of these restrictions, right, for transfer portal, for example, like without still giving athletes a clear voice in that, is still going to be an antitrust issue, right? You're trying to fix an antitrust problem with more antitrust.
Yeah, all this kind of remind me of the cases regarding Charles Bediaku, the Alabama basketball player that had his eligibility taken away after he went to the G League and went pro basically and tried to come back and play in college, and Trinidad Chambliss that just got his eligibility renewed basically out of Ole Miss, the quarterback from Ole Miss.
And those are the exact type of lawsuits that Tuberville's proposed law would be trying to address.
I actually saw a couple months ago also, Republican Senator Eric Schmidt said he also has a plan to save college sports as well. Schmidt is a senator from Missouri, but he's also a former college athlete, and he played baseball and football at Truman State University. He says his blueprint to save college sports is made up of 4 pillars: securing stability, fixing the framework, protecting players in non-revenue sports, and putting fans first.
Now, Joseph, what does he mean exactly by putting the fans first? What does that actually mean here?
It seems by putting the fans first, Schmidt means making sure college sports stays around. And a lot of politicians seem to have a plan to save college sports.
That's right, and not all of these politicians are agreeing on the exact way to do it. It does seem like Trump's executive order and Tuberville's legislation with those proposed 5-year caps and the proposed punishments on transferring are getting the most traction, especially since we saw NCAA earlier this week proposing similar rules.
And it seems that NCAA proposed rule is a direct response to President Trump's executive order and the critiques from other lawmakers. And the NCAA president, Charlie Baker, I have to say, was at that roundtable about the future of college sports at the White House last month. So I guess we'll see what happens after the NCAA's next meeting.
That's right. It'll be interesting to keep up with for sure.
Andrew Gelderman is WBHM's All Things Considered host and reporter. Andrew, thanks again for talking with me.
Anytime, Joseph.
This week's show was cooked up by the Gulf States Newsroom team. Our theme music is by DJ Supreme. Special thanks to our partner stations, WBHM, Mississippi Public Broadcasting, WWNO, and WRKF. You can find us in your podcast feeds every Friday. Look us up and be sure to subscribe. Again, I'm your host, Joseph King. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to steal your room.